Tonight on YCN News, we hear from a local business on how they plan to repurpose Pleasant Street's empty storefronts. A famous landmark in our region is due for some maintenance work. And we take to the trails of Plainfield, New Hampshire for our second trail ride review. For more news, weather, and sports, stay tuned for YCN News, bringing you your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, July 27th. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Kurt Weedy, and this is YCN News. We start tonight in Vermont, where state police are investigating the cause of an accident that claimed the life of a 22-year-old New York man. Trent Costello of Kingston, New York, died at the scene Saturday afternoon. The weather was clear and the roads dry at the time of the accident. Police say the 2000 Subaru Forester, driven by 21-year-old Michaela Park of Oneonta, New York, was driving the car south on Interstate 91 in Wethersfield, Vermont. Park and Costello both were wearing seatbelts at the time of the crash. The Subaru left the highway for an unknown reason, overturned and smashed into a tree. Park was injured, but police did not know the extent of her injuries. Costello was pronounced dead at the scene, say police. Interstate 91 was closed for several hours as state and emergency responders from 3 southern Vermont towns worked together with state police. Well, turning to New Hampshire news, business investors in the state may be aided by a new bill signed into law today by Governor Maggie Hassan. The state has adopted the Uniform Securities Act in tune with Senate Bill 266. The Uniform Securities Act fits in with the state's Live Free and Start focus. Now that's because the financial securities laws will be updated under the bill. Lawmakers from the House and Senate, plus the Secretary of State's office, worked to craft the bill together, according to a news release. Securities regulations will be modernized. Investors will be assured that their money will have better oversight, and businesses trying to raise money to launch a plan or grow may have an easier time securing these funds to do so. Now, in her statement, Governor Hassan noted State Senator Jerry Little of District 8 for his work on the bill. The governor says the bill exemplifies critical bipartisan economic development. Well, the New Hampshire statute aimed at helping cities and towns improve their economic development is getting, well, a quick test. Claremont business The Ink Factory and its owners, Jeff and Sarah Barrett, are hoping to expand the Pleasant Street School Sporting Gear Shop. YCN News spoke today with Jeff Barrett. In more detail, he explains more about the statute named 79E.
So 79E was written specifically for downtown properties with the anticipation of, the expense of trying to renovate old downtowns and stimulate growth is a tough thing when so much of New Hampshire's revenue relies on property taxes. So what 79E allows people to do is to invest in their property if they can prove the public good of some sort. It can be residential, it can be commercial, and it can also be an industrial space, but it needs to be in the downtown and it needs to be historically significant in order to qualify for the full term. But it is based on a number of criteria, but you still have to prove the public good. What it allows it to do is to take pre-renovation tax rates and freeze them for a particular period of time that the City Council deems necessary. We have a purchase and sale agreement on an abandoned building on Water Street. That's approximately 9,000 square feet. We'll be moving into 4,500 square feet of it from where we are currently, which is 1,800 square feet. Should allow us to expand our products as well as try to grow our business. I think that the council did a really, it was well deliberated, and where they settled on a dollar figure of 25% of assessed value or $75,000 to qualify for the program, that was really a great middle ground. It's going to encourage growth, and hopefully this program gets used, 2 or 3, 4 times a year, and let's start a little renaissance in the middle of Claremont.
If you would like to learn more about Statute 79E yourself, you can contact your local town manager or top administrator, or you could go to the address shown below on your screen. Well, it's no doubt that a lot of work goes into the restoration and maintenance of historic landmarks in our area to preserve their legacy. The Cornish-Windsor Covered Bridge is one such landmark that has attracted travelers for decades and continues to support daily traffic from drivers crossing the state border. The New Hampshire Department of Transportation is planning to conduct major maintenance work on the bridge over the next couple of years, focusing on scour protection. Now, bridge scour is when moving water, complete with sediment and rocks, gouges out parts of a bridge supports or abutments, which could lead to collapse in the worst-case scenario. The work on the area's famous covered bridge will try to prevent that from happening. NHDOT will lead the maintenance efforts as they own most of the historic span. Now, this Friday, you can attend a public information meeting about the upcoming work that's being held at the Cornish Town offices at 3 p.m., hosted by the Cornish Select Board. Well, coming up on YCN News, Boston, Massachusetts says no to hosting the Summer Olympics in 2024. Find out why after the break.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News, everyone. Thank you for staying with us tonight. I'm Kurt Weedy. Well, revisiting Governor Maggie Hassan news, the National Governors Association has just named New Hampshire's governor to a key role in one of the association's committees. Governor Hassan will take the position of Vice Chair of the National Governors Association Health and Human Services Committee, named to the spot by the chair of the NGA, Utah Governor Gary Herbert. Now, this committee handles any sort of problems that stem from Medicaid and safety net programs that provide social services across the country. Current members of the committee are making sure that Governor Hassan's strategies and beliefs are implemented in the creation of federal policy. She will be working hand in hand with the chair of the committee, Governor Charlie Baker, from our neighboring state of Massachusetts. And speaking of Massachusetts, don't hold fast to the dream of buying tickets for a Summer Olympics in Boston in the year 2024. That dream may need to be shelved, as well as any dream for hosting the games in the U.S. Residents of Boston aren't supporting the idea as much as others are around the nation. Boston's Mayor Martin Walsh finally put the idea to rest, realizing that taxpayer money would need to be used to make up for any fundraising shortages. Additionally, Boston locals would rather use the city's money to address current issues the city has, rather than spend it on the international event. The search continues for a U.S. city to host the Games and bring the Olympics back to the nation. Tonight is the night that employees of the Lebanon, New Hampshire Co-op Market will vote whether to become a union or not. If so, they will join a branch of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. YCN News will update you on this story tomorrow as the voting result comes through. Also, you could tune in tomorrow to learn more about the Cornish School Board's emergency meeting being held tonight. Student enrollment continues to fall, but this time it's about the incoming kindergarten class. It should be noted that only 4 children may comprise that class in the fall. Well, after the break on YCN News, we'll hand it over to Lynn Solomon of the Kearsarge Chronicle as she speaks with Diane Jones of the Newberry Beautification Committee. Stick around for that conversation.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Mike Pizzone. Well, it was a pretty nice way to start the work week after all that rain yesterday, and it looks like we're in for a pretty warm next few days with temperatures right around the 90-degree mark. Things will cool off to a nice comfortable 62 degrees this evening, with a 30% chance for showers and thunderstorms until about 8 p.m. Temperatures will climb right back up into the upper 80s tomorrow, with a slight chance for storms late in the afternoon, and otherwise mostly sunny skies before a partly cloudy evening with a low of 65. And Wednesday looks like a perfect day to spend outside, with mostly sunny skies and a high of 90 degrees during the day, before falling to a manageable low of 65 Wednesday evening. Now let's check out our community calendar to find some unique events happening in the area. The Lake Sunapee Region VNA and Hospice is hosting a free blood pressure and glucose clinic tomorrow from 9 a.m. to noon at their offices on Newport Road in New London, New Hampshire. Call the number on the screen to find out more. Grantham, New Hampshire's Music in the Meadow Summer Concert Series will kick off tomorrow night from 6 to 8 p.m. with a pre-performance from Steve, Marty, and Joey at the Grantham Parks and Rec Field Pavilion on Shed Road. Refreshments will be available for purchase. A seniors game night will be held tomorrow from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Claremont Senior Center off Maple Avenue in Claremont, New Hampshire. The event is for anyone ages 50 or older, whether they're a member of the Senior Center or not. A variety of games are available and the event is held weather permitting. Last week, YCN News anchor Kurt Weedy brought you some highlights of the thrilling mountain bike trails right here in Claremont. So today, we thought we'd check out his review of the French's Ledges trails a little further north in Plainfield, New Hampshire.
Welcome to the second installment of Trail Ride Review. Today we're going to take a look at the French's Ledges trail system in Plainfield, New Hampshire. The trails are maintained by the Plainfield Trailblazers and are used year-round for biking, hiking, and cross-country skiing. Some buddies and I set in at the uppermost trailhead and traveled the trails to reach the top of the small mountain. We did have to walk some parts as it was too rocky and steep. But once we hit the junction at the top, we chose a trail and set off. The trails at French's Ledges offer a great mix of single track, technical terrain, double wide track, and banked berm trails. Very well maintained, the trails can be ridden back up once you hit the bottom, and you can spend a whole day out there just finding new routes. Some jumps near the bottom provide a fun diversion, and the Townsend Bridge offers a speedy crossing of the brook at the bottom of the trails. One landmark of interest are remnants of the old ski hill, complete with a lodge, chairlift, and ski jump. The trails ultimately bring you to the Plainfield Elementary School, where ample parking space is provided. The French's Ledges trail system offers an expansive variety of terrain for all types of skill levels. But as it is a mountain, be prepared to do a little hill climbing. For Trail Ride Review, I'm Kurt Weedy.
Turning to baseball, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats are happy to have last weekend's series with Portland behind them, as the team dropped all 4 games to extend its losing streak to 5 games. The Cats will try and right the ship tonight at 7 when they kick off a 3-game series with the Harrisburg Senators. That does it for YCN Sports. I'm Mike Pizzone.
Thanks, Mike. Well, we've got an all-new Capital Connections for you after the break. This week, we'll be joining host John O'Connor as he talks with David Pierce of the New Hampshire Senate. You don't want to touch that remote. We'll be right back.
The YCN News continues in a moment.